Hey guys, Brass Facts here. I like the Eotech EXPS series a lot. They're probably my go-to 1X sight. They're durable, great in the day, better at night, and may be the best 1X sight to pair with a magnifier. Eotechs are goated with the sauce, as the kids and my millennial friend says, because he uses zoomer phrases ironically so much that it becomes part of his unironic lexicon. We should kill him. But any Eotech owner, current or former, will tell you these things have flaws. Delamination, a tendency to leak out all the gas causing a huge drop in brightness, electronic issues, and of course, battery life. For 15 years, people have been begging Eotech for more battery life or a way to circumvent the lack of it with an auto-on, auto-off. And in a move that I can only describe as gaslighting, Eotech delivered exactly that at SHOT Show 2026 with the EXPS HD, essentially an EXPS 2. But they've taken so long to deliver on this that several companies have beat them to the punch of making a modern holographic that you can buy right now. I've already covered the .ehs, and today I want to take a look at the Zentinel Vigil. For the record, since Zentinel has given out a number of these to influencers, I did not get one. Which, you know, when you don't get asked to go to a party that you didn't really want to go to anyway, but now you're a bit sad that you didn't get asked despite you not wanting to go? Yeah, that's me right now with the Zentinel. Anyways, paid for this out of pocket pretty early on, 452 doll hairs, which I think I missed something, but since when are Eotech is like $800 new? At least you can still get them for $550 used, thank God. Anyways, back to the Vigil. To be a good replacement, or at least a good side grade to the trusty Eotech, we still want the four things they are known for. Decent blunt impact durability, night vision performance, at least in the same stratosphere as the Eotech, good magnifier performance, and minimal to no detectable parallax. And if we can address Eotech's biggest Achilles heel, the lack of both battery life and the auto-on, auto-off, well, that certainly would make this sight a bit more versatile and be a nice cherry on top.
This video was brought to you by Venture Surplus. Does the sweater say Venture Surplus? No, it does not. Am I going to change? No. Venture Surplus made a demo run of sweaters, and they're good sweaters. And did he refuse to release it? Come on, Venture Surplus.
Disappointing lack of merch aside, I just went to Moons 26, and I, being a dry Utah boy, somewhat underestimated the concept of rain. So I only showed up with a light soft shell. When I got back, I went on Venture Surplus and got this hard shell parka too. Which, by the way, was bought out of pocket using my code BRASS10 for 10% off. Hey, nice transition. While a bit large and a bit expensive, it's exactly what I need, and very fittingly, the next time I went out shooting in Utah, it was pouring. So yeah, next time you have a hole in your capability, consider Venture Surplus alongside my code BRASS10. Thanks for watching the ad, back to the video. Let's start with that cherry, shall we? The battery life, because this part is absolutely hilarious to me. Even with the new EXPS HD, Eotech insists over the years that holographic technology has utterly flatlined and you cannot improve the battery life. And yet, Zentinel offers, in no uncertain terms, 10,000 hours of battery life on a pretty high setting, with a AA, AAA, or 14505. What is a 14505 battery? I don't know. At the time of writing this script, April 8th, my Zentinel has been in continuous operations since February 20th on a very bright setting. And when I say continuous, I do mean continuous. While the Vigil does ship with a auto-on, auto-off feature, which is meant to activate after 30 minutes, mine doesn't work. Which of course is a major demerit, right? That's a major feature that is broken. But on the other hand, 46 days and counting absolutely smokes the socks off of Eotech, which gives us like a week tops of continuous runtime. And it's not like the Vigil doesn't get bright. Same approximate nuclear brightness as the Eotech. I think this extra battery life is a combination of improved tech, but more specifically, the lower refresh rate of the Vigil, which is somewhat noticeable when you wave it around quickly. If you've used 60 to 120 Hz monitor, it's kind of like that difference. Generally not that noticeable until you do a side-by-side comparison, and then it is noticeable, though still well in the realm of a peeve rather than something that will really mess you up. Regardless, a huge uptick in battery life combined with an auto-on, auto-off that will almost certainly make this functional as a optic that you could just leave on all the time. You throw in major weight savings of almost 4 ounces combined with a reduction in overall form factor while preserving the window size, and we end up with an optic that is actually somewhat less burdensome than the typical Eotech when just putting on a generic rifle without too much thought. Okay, so the Vigil addresses Eotech's biggest issue, but that doesn't mean anything if it doesn't deliver on what we've come to expect out of the EXPS. After all, if all you care about is battery, just buy a normal red dot sight. So let's start with night vision, shall we? To access the Vigil's night vision settings, press either one of the two buttons for about 2 seconds, which, much like the EXPS, will put you in the last used night vision brightness. Pressing it again puts you in your last daylight setting, with lockouts preventing you from sort of tapping into either of each by mashing the minus or plus. My initial instinct was that I wish this had a dedicated night vision button, like the Dot, Eotech, or Huey. But in practice, I think it doesn't matter that much. In fact, this may be superior. Yeah, the buttons are way more exposed, but I can actually press the night vision button while wearing gloves, something that is borderline impossible with the EXPS. So I would call this user preference, really. I've come to actually like these buttons a lot. The one thing you will notice throughout this footage is that when the Vigil is on a very bright setting, either day or nighttime, it tends to have a little bit of internal reflection, barely noticeable during the day, but at night, if you don't have the perfect night vision setting, you'll see a little bit of the internal reflection. But fortunately for the Vigil, it's got 5 dedicated night vision settings, and these are actual night vision settings, not just the lower end of the daylight settings, so you can very much fine-tune this and kind of not need to worry about that. The Vigil is also a very competent optic when it comes to light transmission, having both decent light transmission and the appropriate brightness levels, beating out a lot of optics within and certainly lower than its price bracket, like some of the Holosuns and the Vortex options. While on paper it falls short of Eotech's excellent light transmission and thinner reticle design, the lack of a huge Chunga shroud that the Eotech and the 8T have is very noticeable in person, and you get much more of a floating dot effect that isn't present with those optics, so very nice actually. I would definitely call the Vigil a upper tier night vision optic. One thing to consider though, the Vigil, like the Dot, has a noticeable forward emission. That is, you can literally see the reticle from the front side, whereas the Eotech EXPS brags about no forward emission, and flipping it around, yeah, it checks out. This is a thing you need to consider in a night vision setting, as leaving your optic on a daylight setting is very compromising. But it's also something that you may do anyway, be it as a white light backup in CQB, a secondary option in an urban environment, or because you're a buffoon and forgot to switch it to a dimmer setting. That last one happens a lot. That being said, I don't think the Eotech is a get out of jail of being a dumbass card. Yeah, it's a little less forward emissions, but not as much less as you might think. And downrange, they're very much invisible on lower settings, like everything, while being very visible on daylight bright settings. So, I don't know. We should stop talking about this as a feature in every single holographic video, because I don't really think it is one. But none of this means anything if the Vigil, I did it again. If the Vigil is not durable, can handle recoil and blunt impacts. I've run it on this APC 9K for almost 2 months straight, just shy of 2,000 rounds, a good number of bashes, and as an ultimate test, 4,000 miles of sloshing back and forth in my van's storage compartment, which very ironically is what I'm pretty sure broke my Eotech EXPS. That sight no longer stays on for more than 5 minutes at a time.
Your Eotech just broke.
What do you mean? But for fun, let's give it a drop test as a treat.
Just did a zero confirmation. We're looking roughly good. Measured out to be 75 yards up there in the rocks. 3, 2, why are we counting down? It doesn't matter. Good drop. As we can see, we bashed it up pretty good. This scratch was from before, but this right on the corner piece, which is a pretty good stress concentrator, right here. I'd like to imagine they're in like a board meeting somewhere watching this, like all together, and they're just like, ooh, ooh.
I'd say we call that a win, right? Magnifier performance is a similar deal, like 75.55, 56% as good. We lose a bit of the vibrance. The reticle is a bit more grainier, like you can kind of see the bits between the emission points, whatever it is, I don't know how to describe it. And the center dot is not quite as pinpoint-like as the Eotech, which I think makes sense. This is a 1 MOA dot. The Eotechs, in theory, I think are half MOA dots. Reticle also tends to smear a tiny bit when your head's off center in a way that the Eotech and the Hueys don't. And there's a tiny bit more internal reflection and blooming at similar brightness levels when they're a hair over what you need. But overall, I'd say I'm mostly nitpicking here. This is decent. Okay, what's left on the checkbox? What do we got? Parallax. Yeah, it's got parallax. This is an MRO tier where we're coming off the target at half the distance in a tiny window size, but it's more than we'd like to see, and shooting with the dot pinned to the corners opens up our group somewhat, and I actually missed at the extreme left and right at 75 yards. A slight excuse, I guess if we'll call it, for the Vigil is that the window size is relatively massive, and thus parallax is going to be exaggerated on something like this. It's actually not practical to pin the dot as to the extreme corners here, but excuses aside, the Eotech Holographic is renowned for having almost no parallax, and yeah, looking at that, that's a night and day difference.
Hop, are you instrument rated? Because we're relying on...
I have got a master navigator in the back. Whoa! Okay, remember, we went to 10 luck builds, boys.
Should I have it framed like this so when we go off the cliff you can get our live reaction?
Oh, the car behind us is not fucking helping!
There we go, I'm in the window.
Give them the signal, like from Team America World Police. You flip them off so they know that I'm not happy with what they're doing to us. If they could get a little closer, yeah, if they could line up both of their headlights with both of my mirrors, that'd be fucking sick. That's the you're falling off the side of the road warning.
A couple smaller issues that I've noticed. The mount could use a bit of work as well. While it does exhibit return to zero of plus or minus a couple inches, so on par with basically all QDs, at the base tightness level, which feels like your typical ADM or Eotech mount, it will not hold zero, like, at all. And even when tightened, I got a zero shift of about 5 inches to the left over 500 rounds. Only when I cranked on the adjustment to the point where it takes notable effort to close the latch did the optic finally behave as expected, and for the rest of the almost 1,500 and several hundred rounds of 5.56 did the optic hold zero. Finally worth considering at this snapshot in time, Zentinel is completely sold out and they're taking a good bit to get new ones back in stock. Annoying if you want to buy one, frustrating if you need to swap yours out because it shipped broken. So what's the verdict? I think it'll depend on the person. In theory, this is very compelling. Half the price, I'd say 75% of the performance of an EXPS without having the downsides of one. That being said, the Vigil is a made-in-China product, while the EXPS is a made-in-America product, and the Huey is a made-in, I think, England, though imported and finished in the United States. So if you want to support red, white, and blue, or at least NATO, I guess, obviously the Vigil is a no-go there, though it is absolutely an American company as far as I can tell. Similarly, if you want min-max performance and don't care about battery life, maybe it's on a gun that doesn't need to be staged and grab-and-go ready, it's hard to beat the immaculate magnifier performance, the lack of parallax, and the cutting-edge light transmission of the EXPS 3-0s, and given that you can still buy these quite readily for $550 on the used market, I'd say it's still a solid buy in present year. Though, if that supply dries up, I'm not sure I'd want to spend $800 for one of them, though. Anyways, thanks for watching. See you guys, same place, same time, next week. Roll the Nova clip.
Go on. Is that Hop? Go get him. Go get him. Hop. No, he's ignoring you. No. Hop, she's coming for you.